Joe Biden's green scheme is a total flop, but he is still forcing it on Americans. Car companies are pulling back on the production of electric vehicles, and there's a simple reason why. Nobody is buying them. A group of big automakers, including Ford, Tesla, and GM, are slowing down production because of lackluster demand. More than 3,000 car dealers signing a letter opposing Biden's electric vehicle mandate, talking about how the cars are, quote, stacking up on our lots. A new study is also revealing the true cost of electric vehicles, which is roughly the equivalent of $17 a gallon. And here's another big blow to Joe Biden's gas car ban. The Democrat governor of Connecticut is now withdrawing his state's electric vehicle mandate.
This is what we got to do. This is how you bring down the price. See if we can satisfy some of the naysayers, get them on board, just like they were until recently, and see if we can keep Connecticut on a track that's going to make a difference for us and our kids.
But leave it to our stumbling president to ignore all the signs of the coming EV disaster. Biden out in Colorado pushing his green agenda.
Building a clean energy future made in America is part of the progress we're making growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. When I took office, we set a goal to produce 100% carbon-free electricity by 2035. And because of my commitment to clean energy future, Made in America clean energy companies started investing here.
Okay, Dana, Ford, one company, as an example, is projected to lose a whopping $4.5 billion from EVs this year, up from $3 billion last year.
Even though, I don't understand why America has to keep relearning the laws of the free market. So the administration wanted to meddle. They said, here we go, we're going to give the automakers this kind of much money, we're going to give consumers this kind of a discount, and we're going to make the car dealerships, they're going to be the ones that are going to get this across the finish line. And these guys are saying it's not working. We had a car dealer from New Jersey on today saying, I can't move the cars. He can't even get people to take a test drive.
Right.
And he's got all this extra inventory that's just sitting there. And the White House tells them to pound sand. They're not trying to do anything but, do you think the car dealers don't want to make money? Of course they want to make money. But he says that people who live in apartments think, well, where am I going to charge it? They get frustrated. For example, the trucks, when you go to tow something or put a trailer on the back, they don't work as well. And people are saying they're still too expensive and they don't want it anymore. This is a house of cards. And when the house of cards starts falling down in states like Connecticut, watch out. The bottom can fall out very quickly.
Jessica, why do you think Americans are so resistant to the president's green agenda?
I think that what's going on with electric vehicles is part of the green agenda, obviously, but it's not the entirety of it. So I think Ned Lamont,
part of the green agenda.
And I'm going to address your question directly, and then I'm going to add something, just so we're okay. I think that Ned Lamont, who, by the way, is one of the more popular governors in the country, is very smart to do this. And you saw it also during the pandemic with Jared Polis, who's the Democratic governor of Colorado, where President Biden was, just being responsive to your constituents. And this even links back to what you're talking about with Mayor Brandon Johnson. You just have to listen to your people, and you can change rules for that. You can say this is something we aspire to, right? He said in the clip that we showed, I want to get us there. The goals are too aggressive. We can't move that quickly. Hopefully this will engender more goodwill towards EVs if we take a break on this, continue with your gas cars, et cetera. There's also this problem that for the Fords of the world and GMs, people are buying Teslas if they're buying electric vehicles. They haven't been able to get people en masse to buy these other versions of it. And Tesla just has a different kind of sheen to it, and people feel like the price can be justified. It's also driven by wealthier people that are doing it. So if you're asking middle-class people to do it, it's not resonating the same way. Biden's green agenda, though, has had a lot of really big successes. So he was at this wind plant, CS Wind. It's the world's largest wind tower manufacturer. They just broke ground on a $200 million expansion, direct result of the Inflation Reduction Act, 850 new jobs that have come now to this tiny town. 99% of the clean energy investments in Colorado are in counties with below average weekly wages, 68% in counties with higher than average child poverty. This is helping people on the ground for real. There's been $7 billion overall investment in manufacturing clean energy semiconductors, EVs, batteries, et cetera, that are helping average Americans. And that is part of this as well, and why he should be out there talking about it.
Jesse, the Biden administration just unveiled a massive set of highway emissions regulations as Americans are getting ready to spend money for the holiday. And the finalized rule requires state and local transportation agencies to establish greenhouse gas reduction targets that they may not be able to make because people are not buying these vehicles.
They're not hitting any of their targets. And half of the offshore wind projects off the East Coast have been canceled or about to be canceled. Yep. I was trying to find where the market is to buy a green new car, and I couldn't figure it out because if you live in the city, where are you charging it if you park on the street? And if you happen to be able to afford a garage, it's like $500 to $800 a month more. They don't have chargers in garages. Nope. And what are you going to buy another car that's electric? And you have 2 cars in a garage in Manhattan? That doesn't even happen. All right, so then you're out in the countryside. Are you actually going to buy an electric car in the countryside where you have to drive miles and miles and miles? You won't be able to charge it. And then I'm thinking, if you do happen to charge it out in the countryside, it takes 20 to 40 minutes to charge. Who has that kind of time to sit around at a charging station? I got errands to do. And I got to be back before dark. And then, for safety reasons. And then, so now you're only targeting the suburbs. And so who lives in the suburbs? You have some older people live in the suburbs. Older people
He's in the suburbs.
Are not buying electric cars. It's just too different. They're not going to just start. They can barely do email. And then you have suburban housewives, all right? And suburban house husbands. Usually the women don't control which car to buy. Sometimes it's a collaboration.
That's not
Sometimes it's a collaboration.
No. Women always do that.
Fine. The women choose the cars. You're right. Yeah, sure. Okay, fine, maybe. Anyway, let's just say the women that I know, at least, aren't tech people. They're not like, ooh, let's get an electric vehicle. No, that's not what they're about. So the men in the suburbs, a lot of them drive pickup trucks. If they don't drive a truck, they're conservative and they're not buying an electric car. So now you're just having this market here. This is liberal suburban house husbands. Those are the only people in the market for an electric car. That's not a big market.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
All right, as an older suburbanite, Greg.
Yes.
Do you have an electric car?
Not yet, but financial tip, I have bought stock in extension cords. I have a theory that they're trying to replace our fossil fuel cars with EVs.
That would not be a great replacement.
No, I think the government's getting spanked by the invisible hand of the free market. This is what happens when you embrace a goal that's not based on a system, but a desire or a wish. If you want, like me, washboard abs and 7% body fat, you need to create a system for it. You can't just wish that you have 7% body fat and washboard abs. So they treat this massive overhaul in your life like it's an electric car. Just press forward and it'll happen. No, you need a system to do that. I think this is another area where something like EVs were based on projected climate models that turned out to be false. The estimates, predictions have been off by 20% and whatnot. They lied to us. They lied to us in order to ban appliances, to eliminate fossil fuels, to ban gas-powered engines, and to shame us into eating insects. And imagine if they did it the right way. Because I think that Jessica's right. You introduce EVs that are cool as an alternative and give it time to become convenient. This is what Musk did with the Tesla, and his new truck is magnificent, but it's expensive. Yeah. But wealthy people will buy the expensive thing. Remember, it was all the wealthy people that were buying these giant VCRs and the flat screens and getting computers first, and they were costing thousands of dollars. But over time, they became more efficient, faster, better, and cheaper. That's what Americans understand that. Like, electric cars should become an alternative to what we have, and who knows, over time they'll get better. But I think they drove this argument into a bad place, fear-mongering. And Americans have a pretty good BS detector on, like, I don't need to do this because the Earth is collapsing. It's not happening, and we're seeing that these climate models are not bearing out. The world was supposed to end in a couple of years. It was supposed to already end.
Already be over.
Yeah, and it hasn't happened. Just tell us that this is actually going to be a great way to get around, and maybe we'll listen. That's what Musk did with the Tesla cars.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.